This upcoming training camp and preseason for the New York Rangers is going to be very interesting with the fact that they have quite a few different forwards, but especially wingers that are going to be competing for only a few spots that are realistically available on the forward side of things for the New York Rangers to begin this upcoming season. So in today's video, I figured we'd take a look at some of the competition, but mainly kind of what this New York Rangers kind of lineup could look like and kind of what it would mean for the team if they don't go with someone like Matt Rempe on that fourth line, because I think many Rangers fans, myself included, for quite some time now, have just kind of figured that they would go once again with the fourth line of kind of Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, and Matt Rempe to kind of run things back there. They had quite a bit of time together last season there of being that fourth line, but maybe Mike Sullivan, with him being the new coach coming in here and him having maybe a different kind of system, of course, maybe he wants to go in a different direction with the fourth line and maybe try out a more kind of veteran experience lineup where maybe he still has, a Carrick and an Edstrom, but maybe he doesn't have a Matt Rempe who isn't quite as kind of well-rounded and established as some other options that are going to be available. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at kind of what the New York Rangers forward lineup will look like potentially with Matt Rempe not in it, and kind of the options that could be competing for some of those spots alongside him, as well as we're going to take a look at Jimmy Vesey, a former New York Rangers player, and kind of what his plans are for potentially this upcoming season, as there are some pretty interesting rumors surrounding him as well and where he could end up signing for next season. So let's get right into things here, and we'll start off with the Jimmy Vesey news, of course, as he has had some reports linking him to a potential move over to the KHL in Russia, where he could possibly end up playing this upcoming season. And it honestly does make some sense there. I'm sure he would be making some pretty good money, of course, over there in the KHL. He's definitely making some good money, but also he may end up getting a little more of a kind of offensive role possibly over in the KHL compared to over here, where in the NHL he's going to be in more of a guaranteed kind of bottom six role, where over there he'd probably be, one of the better players for the most part on those teams. So I'm sure he could maybe have a little more fun possibly, and he's still making great money, like I said. And also, he has been linked to a few teams, which one of those teams is pretty interesting, and we'll take a look at the reason kind of why in a second. But the teams he's been linked to in the KHL are as follows: SK St. Petersburg, one of the top teams there, AK Bars Kazan. You got Dynamo Minsk, and also the interesting team there is the Kunlun Red Stars. And I say that because he could possibly reunite with a former New York Rangers head coach who is now the head coach of the Kunlun Red Stars, and that is Gerard Gallant. So the coach obviously was with this team before Peter Laviolette. Gerard Gallant, who obviously ended up getting fired a couple seasons ago, well, now he has signed over in the KHL after taking some time off, which I think is pretty interesting because there's a chance now we could see Jimmy Vesey, a former Ranger and a former Rangers head coach, and Gerard Gallant possibly link up over there in the KHL. I think that would be pretty cool to see. And now let's move on to the main part of this video, where we're going to kind of talk about and take a look at what the lineup would look like on the forward side of things, possibly without Matt Rempe in it. And I know he's not the most important player to this team, but he is someone who is a pretty unique player, of course, and I think can possibly have a good impact on this team, and obviously is a bit of a fan favorite as well with his unique kind of style of play there and his unique kind of size out there on the ice. So I think obviously he's a pretty special player. Not many guys like him, and he is someone who, like I kind of talked about, I did kind of have him already penciled in there on that fourth line pretty much. Now just kind of expecting him to be there, but what if he isn't? And I think that's definitely an interesting question because, like I mentioned, there are quite a few wingers that are going to be competing for those bottom six spots, and on that fourth line, I'm going to be honest, Matt Rempe, is he the best kind of all-around player that this team has to be that fourth line kind of right winger? Absolutely not. If you're talking about who is just the best kind of offensive and defensive kind of right winger to be that fourth line player, you're not going with a guy like Matt Rempe. But if you want someone who's going to be a really good, tough player, who's going to bring a lot of toughness, physicality, some energy out there, try and fire the team up a bit, have some big hits, some big battles in the corner, stick up for teammates, fight a bit maybe here and there, bring some of that kind of stuff, then yeah, you're going to go with a guy like Matt Rempe. But if you want that just kind of complete all-around player, you're not going to go with Matt Rempe. Let's just be honest here. So that's why I think it's an interesting kind of talk there. And with a new head coach coming in as well, and his new system and new assistants, I really wonder what his plan is going to be with this kind of fourth line, because It seems like there are quite a few different wingers that are going to have the chance to compete for those kind of few spots left in that bottom six on the wing side of things. I think for the most part there, the top six wing spots and top six in general is kind of locked in, unless someone like a Gabe Perreault knocks down someone like like Mika Zibanejad or Lafreniere somehow. That's really the only kind of way I see someone else kind of getting into that top six there. So there's not really a ton of spots open there. And then you take a look at the bottom six. I think we're probably going to see one of, at least Gabe Perreault, Brennan Othmann, or Brett Berard, at least one of them probably on that third line, I would kind of guess, unless one of them, gets a for sure spot in that top six. Otherwise, we're probably going to see one for sure on the third line there. So that's kind of one of those spots there. Another one could be occupied by more than likely Brodzinski, I would guess, or Taylor Raddysh, assuming Brodzinski doesn't get that 3C spot, which I'm guessing is going to go to Parssinen. So your third line now is kind of looking like one of, at least, Perreault, Berard, or Othmann, alongside more than likely Parssinen as that 3C, with a guy like Taylor Raddysh or Brodzinski as that kind of right winger on the fourth line possibly. And then you've also got to consider that, with that being said, if one of them, Brodzinski or Raddysh, is on that wing spot on the third line, well, the other one could be on that fourth line now. So that's where then you kind of have those spots filled in for the bottom six. We're looking at kind of something like a Gabe Perreault, Parssinen, and Johnny Brodzinski third line, with a fourth line made up of Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, and possibly Taylor Raddysh, which I think would be a pretty good bottom six, and I wouldn't mind that at all. So I'm just kind of pointing out here the fact that I think there is right now absolutely going to be lots of competition for the bottom six. And as much as I wouldn't mind seeing a guy like Matt Rempe in the kind of fourth line role there, on that right wing, to just be that kind of menace out there on the ice, to bring lots of energy, to bring some fear out there as well. I'm not against that, but I also understand the fact that, a guy like Taylor Raddysh, for example, or a Johnny Brodzinski, for that fourth line right wing spot, I think would bring a lot more of an impact, possibly just in a kind of two-way role, right? Offensively and defensively, they're going to be a lot more complete, better players. So as of right now, if I had to guess, I am going to lean towards Matt Rempe being in the lineup for opening night. But as things get along here and we get towards training camp and preseason, and we start to hear some actual kind of reports and talks about what lines we're seeing in practice and stuff like that, maybe we'll get more of an idea on what they're trying to go with. But as of right now, my guess is we're going to see Matt Rempe on that fourth line for opening night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day a video about the New York Rangers. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. And what would you do with that fourth line or with that bottom six? What would you want to see for the lineup combinations? Do you want to see a guy like Matt Rempe actually on the fourth line to begin this upcoming season? Would you rather see him as a healthy scratch? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And also, what do you think about Jimmy Vesey possibly signing in the KHL? I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.